Okay, here's the plan today. The plan is I'm reviewing the Rogue Sphinx version 3. And rather than me try to describe the differences between 1, 2, and 3, I said, let's just let Mark O'Brien, the designer, the owner of Rogue Audio, describe it himself. He could do a much better job than I can. So let's just get to the interview. It was a fun interview. He was in his backyard in Pennsylvania. I'm here in Brooklyn. And we let the good times roll.
This is you, Mike. He likes to be involved with everything. So.
But the question is, so this is version 3.
Yes.
How was version 1 and 2? How are they different than this one?
Actually, let me qualify this by saying they are very different, especially to me as the designer. But some of the things, a lot of it is the same. We kept what we really like, and but what's changed? Let me go from 1 to 2. So because there were less changes there, but from 1 to 2, one of the big things is that we built a lot of them, and I realized that about 2 or 3% of them would have a funny noise if there was any DC offset in the power line. So actually halfway through version 1, but certainly in version 2, I put a DC offset filter in line with it. That doesn't really, again, it was insignificant, but when you build enough of them, it becomes significant. The phono got better in the version 2, and the headphone amp improved somewhat in the version 2. There were less obvious things like improvements in the grounding and the general layout, which lowered the noise floor. Blah, 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 just, stuff that was evolved. The version 2 to version 3, I completely redesigned the headphone amp. I know that you're a headphone guy, at least to some degree,
Right.
Stephen. And I hope you noticed, because it is a completely different circuit, and I based it on MOSFET buffers, and so it's a discrete amplifier section as opposed to chip amps in the headphone. So it's more powerful, it's cleaner.
Was that true in 1 and 2?
No. This is new for version 3.
Yeah, but the others were chip amps?
Oh, yes,
They were.
absolutely. So this is a completely new, and I hope you found to be much better headphone amp. The phono I completely redesigned as well. I took what we had used in some other pieces that were a little more expensive, made it more appropriate for the Sphinx. I really wanted to have something that would do and low output MC cartridges and be quiet and, really actually a useful, very good sounding phono section. And I bet you that I redesigned that thing, and I'm not kidding if I said 20 or 30 times, and I'm not talking about complete revisions, but doing everything from changing the RIA network to actually physically moving it around inside the amplifier to find the quietest spot. Because having a high gain MC phono inside a powerful integrated amp isn't trivial. There's a lot of noise to be picked up and so forth. So I was very happy with the results. The line stage, again, I made some improvements. It got some better components, larger output coupling caps. In general, the entire circuit, I relayed it out using a much more modern software package than was used in the versions 1 and 2. So that, again, helps with noise floor and just less obvious things. To me, noise floor, when you got to stick your ear next to the speaker to hear something, and you need to be a half inch closer now to hear something, it's really not of any great significance other than specs, but a lot of people like specs. So that's
the Hypex modules the same?
Pardon?
Is the Hypex modules the same, the Class D?
Yeah, the modules are the same.
One, two,
Although
and three.
I did make some changes in how they're used. Some tweaks to power supplies that feed them and so forth, which hopefully, I do it because it seems like it'll be beneficial, and I hope you hear that. So yeah.
And what about there's like some kind of damping material between the module itself and the board? Is that always like that?
Oh, did
That
you
white
see some
stuff?
stuff in there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. No, that's actually a heat sink compound to transfer heat away from the heat sink in the module, and then we use the chassis as a heat sink in and of itself.
Okay.
But you're right. It's a thick, pasty goo, and I'm sure that it certainly has some damping properties as well. You thought of that before I did, though.
I want credit.
That'll be in version 4, okay?
Okay. You call that the SG version.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but it's basically, and I guess on purpose, because that's what you always do. But it's pretty much an all analog design, right? There's no
Oh,
A to A in there.
yeah.
That's true.
What's that?
There's no A to D, D to A.
No, there's nothing like that in there.
Odd as a pop.
In fact, people often say, "Oh, it's a digital amplifier," but in fact, it's not a digital amplifier. It's a switching amplifier, so it's not even in that regard either. No, with I kind of view DAX as changing so fast, and the technology is always improving, that I'm reluctant to ever put them into our products, because at a certain level, people really have their own standalone DACs, and they're doing what they want to. And I hate to think of a good piece becoming obsolete in a year because the DAC is no longer cutting edge. So
I'm
yeah.
with you 1,000%, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the tubes, are the tubes in the circuit for the phono and for headphone?
Well, yes and no. I mean, no, they're not in there for the headphone. That's separate, discrete MOSFET amplifier. It's a solid state phono section, but it cascades into the tube section. So when you're listening to the phono, you are listening through the tubes. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
But not for the headphone. Okay. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So are you managing to keep everybody employed in your company?
Just about. We have one woman who can't work right now because the daycares are all closed in Pennsylvania, and she's a single mom. And then we have another woman who was sort of part-time anyway, and so they'll both be back, I think, as soon as we're able to bring them back. But technically, businesses are generally closed in Pennsylvania. What we're doing right now is we have limited hours. We have a fairly large new building, so we can spread people out and have people come in by themselves, and they're doing some of the work from home and so forth. But yeah, we're looking forward to this being behind us for sure.
Oh, isn't everybody, right?
Yeah. Selfish me, but
so Mark, I remember from version 1 that on request you would put in a high pass. So if someone had some small speakers, since you don't have bass management, you could basically build in a high pass and then let them high pass the speakers and then full range signal to the sub, right? You're still doing that for version 3?
Yeah, absolutely. We don't get asked to do that very often, but we have done it, particularly for folks that have Vandersteen subs. Okay. So, I mean, in fact, depending on which Vandersteen sub they have, we have recipes for various pieces of our equipment of where to put the cap in to provide the high pass. So, yeah.
Is it something that
we don't do that for free, but it's minimal cost. So yeah.
And if 3 years down the road they change speakers and they need a different pass, high pass, they can send it to you and you can upgrade it?
Yeah, actually we've done that numerous times. Yeah. So,
So it's kind of like, again, like old school base management instead of a digital system that you high pass, low pass for base management. You're doing it the all analog way.
yeah, and honestly, nothing beats just a simple film cap. It rolls it off nicely, 3 dB at 80 hertz or wherever you're looking for. So, yeah,
You
and,
should
and yeah, we're happy to
do
do
that.
that sort of thing. We're small enough that it's you know it doesn't stop the factory wheels from turning to do that sort of
Okay,
thing.
okay. Well, it's a nice added on feature value,
Yeah,
what I call it.
definitely.
When things are a little more normal, maybe we could do by remote factory tour because you have your new factory. I mean, last time we spoke, we were still working on the new factory. Now it's there,
Yes.
so it would be nice to have you walk around. We'll figure out how to do it, but just sort of show people the factory.
Yeah, I mean, we're happy to do that. And actually, the thought occurred to me today, like, well, I should have brought the iPad in and we could have shown it at the
No,
factory.
that should be a separate thing.
Yeah, okay. And
But,
but besides that, I mean, that you always have the opportunity to take a nice little ride out to Pennsylvania too.
oh, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely, I mean, every single person at Rogue is what you would call house proud. I mean, we were in such an old industrial building that I always tell people had more pounds of animal life in it than people life. And I mean, I can remember, looking and seeing a chipmunk standing on my printer, looking back at me, that kind of thing. So now we're in this nice new building with all LED lighting, and it's terrific. So yes, I'd be very happy to do that.
Okay, good. That's
Yeah,
coming attractions
great.
for this thing anyway. So thank you for doing this. This was good. I love the Sphinx 3.
Oh, you're the boss, man.
Yeah.
So as you like.
All right.
Um, so thanks, Steve.
Thank you. Anyway, hope we see each other sometime face to face in the future soon.